Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome. My name is Alyssa. This is my channel of New Direction, and this is an extended version to the new moon in Sagittarius reading that was posted. So, I do highly recommend that you go back and watch that new moon reading if you have not yet. I broke down kind of what a new moon in Sagittarius looked like and astrologically what that kind of all looked like. So I'm not actually going to get into that in this reading. So I wasn't even really planning on doing a new moon reading when I did start that video, an extended to the new moon reading when I started that. But then I kind of got to the end of the reading and I was like, no, I definitely feel like we need to do an extended. So we are going to break this down into divine masculine, divine feminine, and the journey between two here. And I really want to take this time to break down what that means when I am talking about divine masculine and divine feminine journeys. You see, we are one of the same. We are both, right? Within each of us are both divine masculine energies and divine feminine energies. That divine masculine energy within us is the action. It is the passion, the drive, the determination, the tangible steps in which we show up into life, right? It is that powerhouse kind of side of us, right? That action-oriented side of our beings. And the divine feminine side of our beings is our nurturing energy. It is our intuitive energy, our inner knowing energy, our inner guidance, that kind of mothering divine feminine side to selves, which no matter masculine or feminine, we do contain both. And when it comes to messages like this, they can definitely be taken and broken apart into, for relationships and stuff like that. But I really think that self-growth would look so much differently on us if when we watch readings like this, we are watching it for that divine masculine side within self. Because I've noticed over the last little bit that the divine masculine energy is really coming to appreciate and find worthiness within the divine feminine energy. And when we put that into ourselves, I really see where that is. Our action energy within inside of self is truly beginning to appreciate and see the worthiness in that intuitive side of self, in the inner voice that I feel maybe our masculine energies in the past have really hushed, have overlooked, have maybe not necessarily followed the inner voice and the inner guidance. And that is where true growth comes from, right? When we can dissect our own beings and really do that self kind of evaluation. So that's what we're going to break it up into: divine masculine, divine feminine energies, and then the journey. So what is kind of the journey of those energies and how they blend together and the purpose of that, okay? So without further ado, let's get into this. Energies here. We're going to start with the divine masculine energy of this new moon, the journey energy of the new moon, and the divine feminine energy. Actually, we'll go divine masculine, divine feminine, and journey. All right, let's see. What is the divine masculine energy here for this new moon, spirit? The divine masculine energy. Attachment in reverse. Let's get one more for that. And the blossoming abundance in reverse. And for the divine feminine, what is the divine feminine energy of this new moon, spirit? Storm warning in reverse and financial constraints in reverse. And what is the energy here of the journey? Healer of ages in reverse. And the third chakra in reverse. Wow. Okay, again, so many reversals within the energies. On the bottom of the deck, there's walking away in reverse and all tied up. With the fifth chakra in reverse as well. It blows my mind how many of these reversal cards keep coming out. And this deck, oftentimes when I'm reading tarot, especially in collective readings like this, I only read the tarot upright. But this deck is very much, when it's talking about the energies, it's just the way that I work with this deck. But I very much have to take the reversals because that's the imbalance of these energies here. And I do feel like there is an imbalance here. there's some sort of fear from walking away here, and it has to do with some sort of communication. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, you're walking out of partnerships or you're walking out of stuff like that, but there is a fear here of walking away from some sort of deception and some sort of miscommunication. All right, so let's start here with the divine masculine energy of this new moon. It was attachment in reverse and blossoming abundance in reverse. And the attachment in reverse to me is that like freedom, right? It's where there has been something in the past that has really been attaching, that has really been, I'm hearing, it's funny, I'm hearing succubus in my head. And that just makes me kind of giggle. But that's kind of what I feel like, that I don't even know why I'm hearing that word. It's like that draining kind of energy, right? But it's in reverse here. And I feel that this is a shift. The masculine energy has very much released themselves from toxic energy. Our action side of self has released ourselves from a lot of toxicity within 2020, right? We have done a lot of work. We have done a lot of like grounding and connecting and listening to our more divine feminine self. So those egotistic divine masculine sides of self that we have maybe been attached to in the past, I feel that has been greatly released within the course of 2020 here. Blossoming abundance though is in reverse here, and this is the energy of not feeling that new beginning is happening, not feeling that the blossoming abundance is taking place. Let's get some clarifiers here. Can we get a clarifier for the attachment in reverse for this divine masculine energy? The attachment in reverse here gets the Six of Swords and the Four of Wands. You see, because this is where there has been a lot of toxicity in the past. There has been really low vibration cycles that have attached the divine masculine energy here, but this is shifting. The energy of the new moon here is shifting. With the Six of Swords, that's a transition card. That's a place of transition, and if you watch the new moon reading, the Six of Swords came in that as well as a challenge, because it is a challenge to allow the processes from moving from one place to the next, right? And that is the energy of this new moon in Sagittarius. You are no longer in fall, and you are not yet quite in winter. So there is this phase here where you are moving from the past, but you are not yet quite to the future. And that's this energy of the Six of Swords, but with the Four of Wands behind it, that's beautiful, because that is like the toxicity has been released. The attachment has been cut. Okay, that low vibration is no longer, and though you are no longer attached to the negativity, you are not quite yet in the place of the Four of Wands, because the Four of Wands is very fulfilling. Okay, extreme happiness, karmic celebration, just fulfillment on so many levels, so much celebration. And this is the energy where I feel you have released yourself from the bullshit. The divine masculine energy has cut away the toxicity, and they are moving into that place and the energy of the Four of Wands. It is this period of moving. The blossoming abundance is in reverse because it's not quite there yet, right? They're not quite in that divine masculine energy is not quite in this place of seeing the tangible abundance, but they're moving to it, okay? Let's get a clarifier for the blossoming abundance in reverse. The Three of Cups. And this can be that connection between the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies, right? And the Son of Cups. Yeah. You see, and I really love this because even within self journey here, this divine masculine energy is wanting fellowship, is wanting emotional connection, with and spiritual connection. Like the Three of Cups is like an emotional connection, but it's like so deep. Like it not only is emotionally fulfilling, but it's a spiritual fulfillment. Those relationships where you're like, you don't only just like think that, other individual is cute and stuff, but you connect on a very deep spiritual kind of basis. And this is the energy that this divine masculine is working towards, where it's maybe in the past been very ego-led. This is the energy of movement into the soul-led connection, and acknowledging that they are moving, the divine masculine energy is moving from the place of not having that kind of connection into the place of connecting to that. It's still that transition period. It hasn't quite moved there yet, but this is that divine masculine energy connecting and opening to the emotional fulfillment that is to come in, right? Deeper emotional, like a real kind of commitment. Again, like that spiritual, not only emotional, but that spiritual connection. And that is such a beautiful thing, especially if you want to look into relationship aspects of it. That is a beautiful quality to have. To be able to not only emotionally connect to somebody, but to be able to sit down and spiritually connect to them as well. To have some sort of, base level of spiritual connection between two souls is massive, right? And I feel that that is the energy here that the divine masculine is moving into, where they have been so disconnected from the emotional energy of self, from that divine feminine emotional fulfillment, that this is what that divine masculine energy is moving into. Beautiful. Divine feminine. The storm warning in reverse and financial constraints in reverse. Isn't that cool? Because to me, this is where the pillars have already come down. The tower moments have already happened. This divine feminine has already allowed what needed to happen to shatter, right? And you can see that within self, because the divine masculine energy has released the attachment, right? Therefore, the tower has already happened. The divine feminine energy has already let that come down. Financial constraints in reverse. This can be, really where financially things begin to shift, the cupboards no longer seem quite as bare. Okay. And it's beautiful because at the time of Christmas, like that's a hard time for everybody, right? And this financial constraint, this is just acknowledging that those cupboards maybe, were bare in the past, but here this energy of, the crumbling needed to happen so that the fulfillment could therefore come in. Let's get a storm warning. Let's get clarifiers for the storm warning in reverse here. What's the storm warning in reverse here, Spirit? Can you clarify this storm warning in reverse for us? The Wheel of Fortune. Because the change has shifted, you see? This energy here for the divine feminine is where what needed to crumble crumbled, and within doing that allowed the shift to just take place. Wow. Life changes, life shifts, and the Hermit behind that. Look at that. Focusing in on the inner light. Allowing, the divine feminine energy here is just to allow the process to take place. Allow, find the peace, find the quiet, find the light within inside of self. And I really like this because I feel like this is where as whole beings, we are connecting again to that intuition, where that divine masculine energy is very much allowing the divine feminine to shine the light forward here, right? Financial constraints in reverse. The Magician. Whew. Wow. Financial constraints in reverse gets the Magician because the power is within your hands, and the Hanged Man. Guys, the divine feminine just pulled 4 major arcanas, which are all about those. Arcana means mysteries, the secrets, right? And when it's the major arcana, that is talking about really big life shifts, okay? Massive energies within life. And the divine feminine, the energy here, it was all majors. This financial constraint is really embracing your own power. And again, look at that. It's about embracing the light within inside of self. You see, because what has been barren and what has been empty here, the divine feminine energy is acknowledging that the power to shift what needs to come is within inside of self. That by embracing and allowing the divine to really just work through here what needs to happen, well, it changes massively this divine energy. Holy smokes. Wow. That is intense. And then this journey here was the Healer of Ages in reverse and the 3rd chakra in reverse. You see, and I really feel like this overall energy is where, as beings of whole self, it's been hard to connect here to the divine and to the authenticity, because there's been such an imbalance between the divine masculine self and the divine feminine self, right? For so long, I feel even within myself, this 2020 year, that divine masculine self within inside of me kept beating the shit out of my divine feminine self, kept telling that divine feminine self how unworthy I was, right? Well, you can't chase that dream because you're unworthy. You're not showing up. You're not doing the actions. You're not putting in all the steps. And yet the divine feminine side of self was like, no, that shit needs to crumble. We can't go forward with this. And it was that huge shift within really truly understanding what those parts of self were not only conducting, were not only controlling in my life, but how imbalanced they were in communicating to each other, right? All right, let's get one here for the Healer of Ages in reverse. Why is the Healer of Ages in reverse here for the journey? The Queen of Swords. Look at that. You know, in this journey within this Healer of Ages here, it's saying to look beyond. You know, kind of like this, how this Queen of Swords is riding this eagle, to seeing the bigger perspective here. You know, and maybe it's where this energy here of the journey is with the Healer of Ages in reverse, is where you haven't been able to see the reason. You know, you haven't been able to connect to a divine and understand why this, why here. But the energy of the Queen of Swords was like, you just need to have faith. You need to be able to have faith that there is a bigger view, a bigger perspective. And let's get another one there for the Hanged Man. Again, the Hanged One again. Because there needed to be a shift here. There needed to be, look at how this like person is just like bungee jumping off here. Because it's about having the faith in the divine. It's about allowing yourself to surrender, no longer resisting the changes that need to happen. And I feel here that that is what is shifting within this journey between divine masculine self and divine feminine self, is you are no longer, and especially with that Queen of Swords, because that's the divine feminine energy, right? And you are no longer doubting, maybe, you know, not maybe, you're no longer doubting that energy of the Healer of Ages, because what has been needed to be. That's the energy here of the Queen of Swords. She can understand that. With the Hanged One with it, she can understand that and put down the resistance to allowing life to unfold in the way it needs to unfold. Why the third chakra in reverse? The Four of Swords. Because it's taken a lot of self-reflection here. You know, this journey with that third chakra in reverse, feeling imbalanced with inside of self. That is a lot. That is like 3 swords. The King of Swords came out here too. 4 of Swords and the King of Swords clarified this third chakra, because this third chakra, this imbalance here, you see this journey of feeling the imbalance within the authenticity had greatly to do with the divine feminine and divine masculine self not listening, right? The imbalance within ourselves caused the imbalance within our authenticity, caused the imbalance within our solar plexus. Because if we're not being true to our authentic our authentic masculine self and our authentic feminine self, how are we being authentic to self as whole, right? It is taking, the journey here is to take the time to do the reflection, to be crystal clear on the thought processes, to be crystal clear on the authentic person that you are, allowing yourself that time to just rest and rejuvenate, reconnect to self, crystal clear. The King of Swords, right? Wow, this new moon is so stinking powerful. It just is blowing my mind, especially when it comes to these journeys of self-growth here. Okay? All right, let's see. What does the divine masculine energy want to say here to the divine feminine energy? What is the divine masculine energy wanting to say to the divine feminine energy? The 10 of Wands and the 9 of Cups. You know, to me, that's very much the divine masculine energy, the Magician and the Knight of Swords. Wow. To me, this divine masculine energy is very much where it's in this place. Okay. The divine masculine energy here is in this place of wanting to put down the burdens. You know, it acknowledges that they have released themselves, right? That attachment in reverse. There has been this release of toxicity. This is burdens. This is hardships, right? There has been this releasement, and the 9 of Cups was after that, because after the surrendering of those burdens came self-fulfillment, and came the understanding here of the power that they finally acknowledged was within inside of self, you know? And even within our own beings here, you know, when we're applying this to ourselves, again, this is where our actions have put down the burdens, have put down, you know, what has held us back. Where within ourselves, we are beginning to feel the emotional fulfillment. You know, no longer beating ourselves up for all of these unrealistic expectations that we hold ourselves to, because that's the Ten of Wands. You're putting those down. You're releasing yourself from the unrealistic expectations that you have been holding yourself to in the past. Finding emotional fulfillment, embracing the strength within inside of self. You know, and that is what the masculine energy here is saying, is that is moving. It's coming forward. It's embracing this healing. It's releasing and letting go of what needs to be let go so that it can come forward here as a new being, as a new powerhouse of self. And isn't that cool? Because the Magician is a very masculine energy even within itself. But this is not only moving forward within some sort of just like, you know, egotistic power. It's the emotional power here. It's the vulnerability that comes here now with this divine masculine energy. Because they've released the ego of the past, I feel. I feel like that was part of the burdens that has been released here. Let's get a clarifier for the Ten of Wands. Yeah, the Seven of Pentacles and the Three of Swords. See? These burdens were the heartaches. You know, it was the process. It was the learning curve, right? The Seven of Pentacles is kind of about putting in the work and learning, you know, learning to plant the seeds, learning to plant the pentacles, you know, learning to harvest what it is. And here with the Three of Swords behind it, there's been heartache. There's been burdens. There has been a lot of growth and knowledge that needed to happen. You know, and maybe it was within even that divine masculine energy, figuring out how to grow from heartache, how to heal from that kind of heartache, right? Get a clarifier here for the Magician as well. I'm going to clarifier here for the Magician energy, for this divine masculine energy. The Four of Cups and the Seven of Wands. Because there has been a lot of cups that have been spilt here, and this divine masculine energy where the power comes in, where this Magician energy comes in, is where the divine masculine begins to embrace the cup that is not spilt, the cup that they have been ignoring from spirit. It's about shining their authentic light here. Allowing the haters just to step aside and not necessarily worrying so much about what others are saying here, but accepting the cups of authenticity, accepting the power that is within this divine masculine energy for what it is. It's truth, you know, not an ego-led, but soul-led. That's that Nine of Cups. It's not ego-led here. It's soul-led. Let's see what the Son of Swords is. What is moving here? What is the Son of Swords? What is this divine masculine energy wanting to say with movement? Wow, it's tough. There's tough communication here. It's very hard right now for this divine masculine energy, I feel, to communicate towards the divine feminine. The Five of Swords and the Sun and the Knight of Wands here. You see, in the Knight of Swords is wanting to move quickly. It's wanting to go towards something here. It's wanting to make swift change. But the challenge is the communication here. The challenge is coming forward, this divine masculine energy. The challenge here is really embracing the tough communication that's going to happen to have to bring forward that authentic self, you know? It could be that fear of that divine masculine energy, right? And how that, how their authenticity maybe will be taken. Maybe it's a fear of what that is going to be taken by this divine feminine energy. But within self, when we're reflecting this back to self, you know, this is about our negative self-talk, right? Like if you're wanting to move forward, then don't cripple your authenticity by talking shit about yourself, right? What you put out there, even within your speech is like, that's what you're telling the universe you're accepting. So if you're being toxic to yourself with your words, then it's very hard for you to embrace your authenticity. Because in order to embrace your authenticity, you must not be toxic about that authenticity, right? You must be loving. Yes, there's forward movement here, but don't criticize that authentic part of you that is calling you to move into that forward movement. Okay, let's see here for the divine feminine. What does the divine feminine energy want to say to the divine masculine energy? The Ace of Wands, the Seven of Wands, the Eight of Swords, and the Five of Cups. You know, the divine feminine energy is very much saying here that there's a new beginning. You know, there's a new opportunity to start here. And look at that, the Seven of Wands again, just like this divine masculine energy. Because this divine feminine energy is like, it's fine. We are connecting here to the solar plexus. We are connecting here to our authenticity. We are blocking out the haters, blocking out the bullshit, you know, not worrying about down all of this negativity down here, because that's not what we're focusing on. This is a new beginning. The Ace of Wands, that's the new beginning here. And the divine feminine energy is no longer feeling like a victim. Okay? She's no longer being a victim here to the emotional pains and the emotional sadness that has held her back in the past. Because here, this divine feminine energy is like, wait a minute, there is a new opportunity, a new beginning here to embrace the light of self. Yep. Look at that, divine feminine. The Ace of Wands here and the Empress, and that is such a divine feminine card, right? Because this beginning here is for this divine feminine energy to embrace what it is she wants to manifest in her life, the life that she is wanting to manifest. Let's get a clarifier for the Seven of Wands. Seven of Wands gets the Six of Wands, because that light within side of self is illuminated when you liberate yourself here. When you embrace your truth, your authenticity, how wonderful you are, the changes that have come from this divine feminine energy, the growth that has come from this divine feminine energy, you know, listening to your intuition, allowing that intuition a place to grow, a place to really find strength, make root, become and intertwine itself into your everyday life. It is not about just being the divine masculines within our lives with all actions, but within acknowledging our inner knowing and our inner voice. And that is what this energy is saying. You know, the divine feminine here, the divine feminine energy here is very much saying to the masculine that this is a new beginning. This is a new opportunity here for us to start on a new, liberated, self-powered journey of growth here. Blocking out the bullshit and connecting to our own inner light. This divine feminine energy is ready to go forward here. She is ready to just embrace her new sense of self. She's no longer a victim. She is no longer the Eight of Wands, right? And the Eight of Swords here. Can you get a clarifier for this Eight of Swords? The Devil, oh boy, the Devil, the Hierophant, the Chariot, and the Queen of Cups. Yeah, because you see, this is the divine energy, the divine feminine energy of where she has been. She has been stuck because the divine masculine energy within side of self has not allowed that inner voice to speak. All right? Here is kind of like our divine feminine energy, and here's our divine masculine energy being like, well, I wish you would tell me what's going on. And the inner voice is like, hey, I'm trying to tell you what's going on, but you keep binding me up with how unworthy you think I am, right? And this inner voice within inside of ourselves is like, just free me here. Because this inner voice, this true authentic voice within inside of self is ready to release the toxicities. It's ready to go past what has held you stuck and embrace the light. Embrace the divinity that is all for this divine feminine energy. Embrace the inner knowing, embracing the connection here. There is a change, a massive life change that is happening. That is where this divine energy, divine feminine energy is shifting. From no longer being trapped within her own soul, but being able to control her chariot. Being able to connect herself to this divine feminine energy again and steer her chariot in the direction in which we want to go. Right? The divine feminine is no longer a victim here. No, now she is the chariot here of the direction in which she wants to go. Five of Cups. And that Five of Cups was about that divine feminine just releasing the sadness here. Five of Cups. Eight of Wands. It's positive change. You see, because I feel like this divine feminine energy is so much just embracing her own intuition and her own connection to the divine that it fills her in such an emotional way, right? That inspiration and that powerful change of the Eight of Wands is just hard to ignore. And with this eclipse energy of the new moon, you must expect powerful change. That's a huge part of it. All right. Let's see what the universe is wanting to say about the journey between these two divine. The Five of Wands. The Empress, the High Priestess. The Four of Cups. And the Six of Swords. Wow, you see the journey here between what the universal energy here is saying about this journey between the divine masculine and the divine feminine is that this is very much, you know, there's been a divide, I almost feel, and especially when we relate it back to self here. There has been a divide within our masculine and feminine energies of self. And here it is about connecting to the Empress and the High Priestess. Here it is about taking our action side of self and connecting it on such a real level to that inner knowing. That divine feminine energy starts to totally just embrace every aspect of our lives. You know, that if our heart and our soul isn't calling us to do it, it's like that's not even happening. It's this journey here is the energy of cups being spilled, but the universe saying, this is the cup of opportunity that is for you. The Four of Cups. This is the cup here of fulfillment that I have, you know, that the universe has been trying for so long to give. And the Six of Swords is still, it's in this transition period, because much like this Sagittarian energy, it's not one or the other yet. It is still the in-between phase. But this so much is just very much about taking that divine masculine energy of self and wholly committing it to the divine feminine energy of self. Finding that romantic balance within inside of self, you know? Wow. All right, what is the divine masculine energy? What does the divine masculine energy want to do here with this new moon? What is the divine masculine energy wanting to do? The Mother of Wands. What is the divine masculine? There is so many. The Mother of Wands, the Six of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles, the Six of Cups, and the Judgment. The divine masculine energy is very much ready to embrace this divine feminine energy. You know, very much ready to come from the shadows, come from the hard times, embrace their authenticity, you know, embrace the intuitive knowing, the nurturing aspects of this divine feminine energy. There is this emotional reflection here with the Six of Cups that is just that pause, that nostalgic kind of energy of looking back over life and understanding, you know, all of the good, all of the bad, all of the parts that it took. But the Judgment is the surrender here. You see, the divine masculine energy is wanting to release here. The divine masculine energy is so ready to connect to divine feminine energy, so ready to liberate itself from the darkness, connecting here, coming forward as an emotional being, not afraid to bear that emotion that comes with divine feminine energy. Surrendering, the Judgment, surrendering here. Wow. Let's get a clarifier for the Six of Wands. What is that Six of Wands? Six of Wands is the Seven of Cups and the Daughter of Cups, the Page of Cups. You see, because this is really where this energy of the Six of Wands, this is about the liberation again, right? And this is really where the divine masculine energy is wanting to come forward here and say, you know what, I've been changed. I've looked at all of these cups that are before me. I've looked at all of the options that are before me, and I've decided that the cup that I want to accept is one of emotional fulfillment, one of hope, one of love, one of potential, even new romance, you know, even new romance within that divine masculine and feminine energy of self. Let's get a clarifier here for that. Six of Cups gets the Three of Wands. Because it's taking this emotional reflection of the divine masculine energy to go forward as a new being. You know, because the Three of Wands is about really going forward as a new wholesome being, a new spiritual being. It's about acknowledging the changes that needed to be made within inside of your spiritual journey and then going forward with those changes. And that's really, I feel, you know, where this reflective where this reflection of emotions comes from, you know, this reflection of all of these roots that it took to build, you know, this divine masculine into the being that they are. It's about understanding that all those roots, they played a part. You know, they were all just as important as the next. But as those roots, as those emotions, as this connection here, now it's about going forward with all of the understanding, the deep knowing of the understanding, and embracing the new being here of self. Releasing what has been, right? Releasing what has been. Let's get one here for the judgment. Let's get a clarifier for the judgment. That's way too many. I seen the 8 of Cups. And that's walking away from the sadness, right? Walking away, putting down the sadness, just allowing that to be what it is. Because we have to walk away from the broken cups, you know? The divine masculine energy here acknowledges that the heartbreak of the past isn't going to serve them because they can't hold on. You know, the divine masculine energy of self can't hold on to the burdens of the past and want to embrace the lightness and the hope of the future, right? 9 of Pentacles. It's about self-fulfillment. It's about self-acknowledgement, self-freedom here. Embracing that true open-heartedness, the grace and the gratitude and the gratefulness that comes from just being in this place of surrendering, of allowing just the hardships to be in the past and embracing the future that is to come. Such powerful energies in these readings. All right. What is the divine feminine energy wanting to do? What does the divine feminine energy want to do? The 6 of Swords, the Moon, the King of Swords, and the 7 of Swords. Wow. You know, this divine feminine energy is just ready to move. You know, this divine feminine energy is just like, there's been a lot of darkness. There's been a lot of hard times, actually. Isn't that interesting? Look at how these, you know, very dark kind of skies. And the 7 of Swords is very dark kind of skies too, right? And this is really where the divine feminine energy is like, you know, it's time to move. You know, even if the waters are rough here, this is the faith, especially with the moon behind it, because the moon is all about surrendering to the divine. The moon is all about surrendering here to the faith of allowing what to be just to be, allowing the process of this transition from point A to point B just to be. Let's see what the 6 of Swords is here for the divine feminine. Let's get a clarifier here for the divine feminine. The Ace of Cups and the Ace of Swords. Holy moly. Divine Feminines, that's 3 aces that the Divine Feminine has pulled here because there is such a new beginning within this Divine Feminine energy. The Divine Feminine energy is just like letting it go, like totally taking control here and stepping into the power that has always, you know, where the Divine Masculine self, I feel, has just hampered so much on the worthiness of this Divine Feminine energy. And the Divine Feminine energy is just like, nope, I'm stepping up. I am embracing, and this is a new journey. This is a new opportunity. This is a whole new way forward. You know, accepting the new beginning for all that it is, for all the blessings, for all the new wisdom that it is, right? Let's get a clarifier for the moon. The moon gets the 9 of Cups. Why not, right? Because this moon, this surrendering here to the faith that the Divine Feminine is being asked to, it's emotionally fulfilling. That's how you find this emotional freedom, is when this Divine Feminine energy surrenders to the divine. So that feminine energy can embrace what the divine is guiding it to do, right? By having that emotional fulfillment and that emotional like surrendering here to a higher, it kind of takes the pressure off the Divine Feminine almost, I feel here, right? Where she can open herself up to understand that she is not alone. Where she feels worthy within that communication of self. King of Swords. That's the clarity. King of Swords here. Let's get a clarifier for this King of Swords. The Ten of Wands. Yeah, you know, because there is clarity, like I was just saying, the worthiness. Because this King of Swords, this energy of the clarity, you know, and he is all about cutting shit that just isn't going to serve him anymore. And that divine feminine energy acknowledges that within the actions that are needed here, because she's going to release the burdens, the Ten of Wands. She is going to release the burdens and anything that does not make her feel worthy, right? The Four of Pentacles. Okay, it's not about being selfish, but it's about respecting herself. It's about making sure that she is taking care here. This divine energy is taking care of her energy. She is releasing the burdens because those aren't hers to bear, right? It's about embracing her worthiness here. And she's crystal clear on that. That's what this King of Swords is all about. You know, the Silver Fox is like, hey, babe, you cut that shit, okay? Because you worthy. You worthy. You don't need to carry the heavy burdens. You don't. Release those heavy burdens and acknowledge this, the worthy queen that you are. Seven of Swords. Let's get a clarifier for the Seven of Swords, because the Seven of Swords is like, there's been some cheating shit going on. Look at that. Three of Cups and the Knight of Swords. You know, and there can just even, this divine feminine, I kind of almost feel like, see that Knight of Swords here again? You know, and that's like that Knight of Swords that the divine masculine had, wanting to move towards, you know, wanting to move towards this divine feminine. And I feel this divine feminine energy, you know, the actions are like, she can feel it coming in the darkness, you know? She doesn't necessarily see what's all happening here in the darkness with that Seven of Swords, but it's as though she can feel this fellowship coming, this movement coming towards her, this divine masculine energy moving itself towards the divine feminine energy. And with inside of self, I feel very greatly that that's like, you know, where our action steps of our lives are slowly but surely, and maybe not even slowly, you know, that Knight of Swords is like, he's pretty fast, but it's where that action side of ourselves is showing up to really connect to our inner voice. I love it. All right, let's see here. What is the journey here? What is the universe? What is the energy of the divine journey here? And what does it want to do? The Ace of Wands and the Nine of Pentacles. It wants to begin, you know, the energy here of the journey between this divine masculine and the divine feminine is that it wants to begin anew. And it wants to begin anew to feel full within inside of self. Nine of Pentacles. To feel whole and worthy and fulfilled within inside of self. Look at this, the Page of Swords, because there is a new beginning here. There are things coming in. And the Page of Pentacles. There are absolutely the Page of Pentacles and the Page of Swords. That is so interesting. But there is new cycles happening, new beginnings happening. You know, and the journey is just wanting and acknowledging, you know, the universe is just wanting this journey to be, in order to go forward here, we have to connect to ourselves as a whole. We have to feel whole within inside of self. Nine of Pentacles is all about feeling whole within inside of self in order to go forward in this new journey in tangible ways, but also even within our thinking, within how we process our life and all of the things that happen around it, right? The journey here is wanting to begin anew, but in order to begin anew, it must be a whole new within inside of self. Wow. All right. We are going to get some, we're going to pull a moon card here just for some advice going forward for the divine masculine. And advice going forward here for the divine feminine. Advice for the divine masculine. A new romantic cycle begins. New moon in Libra. And step out of your comfort zone. The North Node. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting too how I was talking about in this reading about the new romance in between, you know, within our own self and within our own divine masculine and divine feminine energies. All right, and advice for the divine feminine here. Advice for the divine feminine energy here, Spirit. What advice do you have for the divine feminine energy with this new moon? A new start is coming. The new moon. Nothing is yet set in stone. the mutable moon, which is interesting because, as I was saying in that first new moon reading, the Sagittarius is a mutable sign. So that's, again, very powerful. Nothing is yet set in stone. And Virgo, full moon of Virgo, you are good enough. That is the worthiness that this divine feminine energy keeps embracing and keeps saying, you are worthy enough, divine feminine. That inner voice within inside of self is worthy to be what guides you, to be what leads you here. And let us get advice for the divine journey here, for this new moon. The answers you need are coming, full moon in Gemini. The divine journey here. Confidence is your key to success. One more. It's time to release negativity. Full moon in Scorpio. Wow. Well, my friends, what a beautiful reading. Another gorgeous reading for the day. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button. If you are not a subscriber, be sure to do that as well. Until next time, guys, take great care of your souls. Bye now.